guys, what's going on? Jay the Reporter coming at you once again. And I figured this time around, I'll do a different format for the show. I'm thinking about going back to more of a long form. I did do some quick uploads from the show a couple weeks ago. And I also did say I was going to be doing more uploads throughout. But, life starts to happen, things start to happen, and some things have to get put on the back burner. This was just so happened to be one of them, but that doesn't mean I was ignoring the news. So in this show, we're going to kind of touch on from topic to topic, kind of bounce around a bit, a little more free forming. So to kind of get things going, over the weekend, for everyone who knows I love boxing. I was a big fight guy, growing up as a kid, even up to my adulthood, loving the fact that I can, still get a chance to enjoy one of my favorite sports, which is boxing. I watch MMA, but it just doesn't have that same, I don't have the same love for it the way I have for boxing. Boxing was the original for me, and I love it. Now, the marvelous Marvin Hagler passed away at 66 years of age with a very impressive record as far as boxing goes. He doesn't get talked about the way Tyson, Ali, the heavyweights get talked about a lot more than the guys who weren't. But this class that he fought in was one of the premier classes as far as boxing is concerned. Boasted a record of 62, 3-2, the two being draws, of course, with 52 knockouts, which means that if you were going into the ring with him, 5 out of 6 times he was putting you on your tail. So a lot of his fights didn't necessarily go the distance, but they were great fights nonetheless. And a couple of fights that I remember watching, I had to watch these on YouTube clearly because I was born in '88. He was done fighting just about around that time where I was starting to become of age. So I didn't get a chance to enjoy his fights in the moment, but a beautiful thing called YouTube, I can actually go back and watch these fights, which I encourage people to do, because one of the greatest first rounds of all time. I'm pretty sure you heard other people talk about this, but I got a chance to experience it, in a different fashion, not necessarily live, like in the moment, but get a chance to watch it and see, and then rewind and watch it again. It's beautiful. You got to check out Thomas the Hitman Hearns versus Marvin Hagler. These guys turned out to be best friends. After they met, they turned to be best friends. And when you happen to be best friends, especially in a sporting community, because it's a little different when you're in sports and then friends and you're competing versus, just working a job and having a best friend at that job. Like I have a job and I have one of my really, really good friends who I happen to coach football with right now, youth football. We coach together. It's different if, we working together and then coaching against one another rather than with each other. But this situation is really different. They were competing in their field of expertise, which is knocking people out. And seeing that round, the most beautiful, because boxing to me is poetic. When you watch it, it's poetic. The fight tells a story. No matter how quick the fight is, how long the fight is, the fight tells a story. And that first round told a story of these are two guys who, when it's all said and done, you're going to say are great, point blank, great fighters. Thomas the Hitman Hearns, a lot of people in my age bracket may remember him from knocking out Martin Lawrence on the show, an episode of Martin. I also remember him from his fights with Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard. Like that class was amazing. And not to mention the fights against Sugar Ray Leonard as well with Marvin Hagler were amazing fights to watch. But RIP to a absolute legend. I'm not going to stay on that topic but for so long because it's a very big topic I want to talk about. And that's the NFL free agency. Guys, yesterday was bonkers, okay? Bonkers. The New England Patriots are making moves to build a team around Cam. Now, I'm not saying he's the quarterback for the future because Cam is 32 years old. Not the quarterback of the future, but the quarterback of the moment. Because right now, the Patriots are a team of the moment. When you look up and down their roster, the most important players are around Cam's age. So if you want to win, and you want to win right now, especially if you're New England, because outside of Buffalo, the division is basically up for grabs. That second place spot is up for grabs. I don't believe there's really too many moves that New England can make to put themselves past Buffalo. I think Buffalo's there. Buffalo's the team now. Now, in the AFC, there's a lot of slots opening up because right now Pittsburgh's getting a lot worse. I mean, we just lost Bud Dupree. I'm going to talk about that move as well. James Conner's more than likely not getting re-signed. Juju's not coming back more than likely. So there opens up a slot there. Baltimore is getting worse because Judon is now a Patriot. And they're also losing Marlon Humphreys. There's guys who aren't coming back. So when you're talking about a team that's now Ravens are in a weird spot. So I think right now the teams that you could say are completely solid in the AFC kind of go as follows as far as what they are. It's Buffalo, Kansas City, Cleveland, and Tennessee. I'll throw Indy in there. I'll just throw them there, but I'm still not too sold only because of Carson Wentz. But I think, like I said before, the move could be a positive thing for both. Now, what the Patriots did was really vault themselves back into contention of saying, hey, with this defense, and the one thing I can say is Cam didn't turn the ball over a lot, but he also didn't score a lot last year. Now, I get it. He didn't have any weapons. Basically, were the same weapons that Tom Brady had, and they were missing some defensive pieces. Now, this team was in place to finish with at least 11 wins because they only lost, I think, 4 of the games by less than a touchdown. So that means a couple plays here, a couple plays there, totally different scenario drops. And all of a sudden, you're looking at New England 11-5. Not necessarily in contention in their division, but at least in the playoff hunt. Because I think about all those 11-win ball clubs that made the playoffs. So it's a good possibility that could happen there. Now, it's still a tough division to kind of win out of because Miami, you still don't really know what they're going to do, and they got picks. New England, they're making moves in free agency, so now they can make different moves as far as how they're going to move in the draft. Now they can draft for depth and need more so than, oh man, we really got this. What we really need some more wide receivers. Well, it's not as big an issue. They just signed Nelson Aguilar. They're not saying he's a Randy Moss type of change your whole offense around the kind of guy, but he's better than most of the options that they had. Now, with that being the case, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying one of two things. New England has always been a defensive ball club. Regardless of what they've been putting up on offense, they have always been carried by their defense. Ever since they started being on the positive end of winning, they have definitely been a defensive team. Regardless of what you can say with Brady and what their offense has done, what they have accomplished, the defense has always been their key. Now, looking even deeper into the postseason, I decided to take my eye off of looking at the Patriots because they make the big deals. Now I'm looking more so at the Saints and what they have going on because now Drew Brees has officially hung it up. I already said he was going to do it. I didn't believe anyone who told you that they said that he was coming back were lying to you. You don't perform the way you perform at the back end of the season as well as in the playoffs and think that, oh yeah, I can run this back. No, you can't. Brady can run it back. Yes, I even believe Phillip Rivers could have ran it back and he retired. But it just comes to happen that way. Now, looking at the Saints, their quarterback situation is kind of weird because they brought both guys back. Taysom Hill with a 4-year deal, and then you also got Jameis Winston on a 1-year deal. 1 year, I think it's $12 million. Now, this doesn't mean that either one of them are promised a starting role because honestly, if I had my choice between the two to pick as my starter, I'm going to go with Jameis. And before anyone says, why would you go with Jameis if Taysom got the start when Brees went down? It's because of what I saw out of Taysom Hill that has me saying I personally believe that Jameis would have played. He would have beat the Eagles. The Eagles wouldn't have won that game if Jameis was the quarterback because you can still run you can still run your offense with Jameis. Now, he did get that year to sit behind Drew, watch him, learn from him, pick up things. And for anyone who knows, Jarvis Winston, Jameis Winston sat behind E.J. Manuel 1 year at Florida State. It was his redshirt freshman year. He learned the offense in that year and then came out and balled out in his first year on the field. And then the following year, guys are gone, teams looking different, and they still make it to the college football playoff, but in his first year in his existence. But that team was far from what the year before was, but he still carried them there. Now, looking at how this whole operation's working for Jameis. He sat down that year. He went out there, and when he played well. Now, it wasn't a large sample size, but I'm believing that a quarterback type of coach like Sean Payton can bring this out of Jameis, because there's no way you're telling me he looked at Jameis playing in Tampa Bay for the better part of 5 to 6 years and then said, you know what? I give me Jameis Winston. You know the down bad guy on TikTok? Sir, get me Jameis Winston is basically what he said. I'll take him, and I'll show you what to do with the quarterback like Jameis. Because what was happening in Tampa, there wasn't enough discipline in Tampa in that moment, because they was a very young team. Now, that same team went off. It was a Super Bowl caliber offense. The defense was really good, but they didn't have the discipline, and that's what Brady brought, was the discipline. Now, looking at Jameis and what all Jameis is going to have to do if he's picked as a starter, like I said, I would pick Jameis as the starter. Not saying he's going to. I'm clearly not the coach of the New Orleans Saints, and there are tons of New Orleans Saints podcasts that'll probably say Taysom Hill's the better prospect. Personally, I'm going with the quarterback who has the better arm. And in this case, I'm rolling with Jameis. I believe he can do a lot more in that offense with those wide receivers than Taysom Hill can. To me, you are handicapping yourself and putting a bigger target now on Alvin Kamara's chest when you have a quarterback who, and I bring this play up a lot, it was a play, he bootlegged out to the right, offensive lineman pulled, there was nothing in front of him but 3 offensive linemen, which would tell me that there's 3 defenders off to the side that I just ran from who are basically at this point free running directly at me, and it turned out to be a fumble, which ended a really good drive, mind you, and also that turnover killed any chance of a comeback. You have to have better situational awareness than that. If you're not going to get rid of that ball in the first 3 seconds, at least take off and run. Because of your athleticism, you might be able to pick up something. But that's just how I chose to look at that. And if a quarterback can't read that situation, that's not the guy I want under center taking all of my snaps for a full season. That's just how I chose to look at that. Now, moving on from the Saints, like I said, I'm Jameis on this one. Unless they can find some way to move up in the draft and get a guy, I'm just not feeling what they got going on. I don't really think they have the pieces in place to be a great team the way they were, but they're probably a 10-win ball club. I'll see when the schedules come out how good they really are going to finish, but I just really believe that's pretty much what we're looking at there. Now, the team that made another move, and like I said, I'm very impressed with this team because they're making moves, but they're incremental, and it's the Tennessee Titans. They're deep at tight end. They let a tight end go, save some money, sign Bud Dupree. So now they have what they were missing was an edge rusher. They did not have one, and it hurt them in the playoffs. It hurt them 2 years ago when they had the shot to go to the Super Bowl. They had no one who could touch Patrick Mahomes. No one who could get home on Mahomes. Same thing when they played against Baltimore this year. They couldn't get home on Lamar Jackson, and you need that edge pressure. That's why the Steelers do so well against Lamar Jackson, because they can get that edge rush, and then on top of that, they have the coverage behind it, because he's not really the greatest passer in the world. Good quarterback, not the greatest passer in the world. He's not going to get out there and dice you up for 350 while getting hit and making Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl level passes. That's not going to happen. So if you can get the pressure, you get it, you make it happen. And not to mention the window's closing on Tennessee. Because right now Indianapolis is coming, and they're a lot younger. So I'm thinking to myself right now, how good is this Tennessee team? I believe they're good enough. I think this move puts them right in the Buffalo-ish range, probably right around where New England is, if Cam is the Cam of 3 years ago, which I'm asking for a lot there, but I think he could actually pull that off. Now, last subject that I do want to talk about is the NBA season, the second half. Now, I purposely ignored All-Star Weekend because I knew it was going to be a terrible, terrible TV product. It just, like, all the ideas that came out were stupid. Just to be completely honest, it was stupid. Why are you putting the dunk contest, three-point contest, all of that in one night? That's too much. It's oversaturation of your product. You have to spread it out. There's no way you're gonna sit here and tell me that you were risking anything more by having a 3-point contest and dunk contest on a Saturday night and still rolling and having your All-Star game on Sunday. You were risking nothing. Absolutely nothing. If anything, you were putting a bigger risk of injury on guys who were participating in the events and then playing in the game. Guys like Steph Curry, you were putting more pressure on them. And that, to me, was unfair for these guys. Because at least if I'm in a 3-point contest, keep in mind, that's 5 stations, 5 stations, 5 shots, 2 to 3 rounds. That's like 50 shots. 50 to about 60 shots. That's a lot of shots, not to mention shooting during the game and then literally jumping right back into gameplay 2 days later in many cases for some of these guys. So totally unfair if you ask me. But we're not here to really talk about the All-Star Weekend. I totally ignored it. Worst ratings of all time. There's a million videos on YouTube about that. So I'm not even going to touch on it because it was a horrible, horrible product. Maybe that's a different topic I can talk about on a later video, about why I believe this is the case and why I believe the NBA is dying. Because if I sit here and I asked you, hey, what was your favorite NBA game this year? I'm pretty sure no one's going to sit there and say, oh, it was this game because of what this happened. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, honestly, I haven't watched. Like most of the people I talk to, they'll tell you, yeah, man, I watched, like most people consume the NBA like this. I watch Sports Center to get the highlights, know who happened, know what's going on, and then if it's a game that's on and I have nothing else to watch or do, then I'll watch that game. And that is not how the NBA was consumed, even as early as 2010. I was watching regular season basketball games in 2010. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, I was watching the games. The last 2 years have been rough as far as watching the games. It's been rough, and I can't say the players aren't better, because they are, but it's not that the players aren't better, it's just that right now they have the same problem they had after Jordan retired, is that the balance was thrown off, and it's the same way now. You go to the Western Conference, right now there are 2 teams that didn't get out the first round and one didn't make the playoffs that are leading the conference this year. Utah, who lost in the first round, and then you have the Phoenix Suns, who missed the playoffs. Now, I did say Phoenix was going to make the playoffs this year. I really liked the Phoenix Suns coming into this year. And the addition of Chris Paul helped that immensely because it gave that team a true leader at the point guard position, which is what they were honestly missing, because you can get a scorer at the point guard position. Every team has one, but no team has a distributor, a ball, like someone who's going to say, hey, look, we're moving this thing. We're moving our offense here. They got that in Chris Paul, and now you can see how the team is moving up. Same thing with Oklahoma City and what they were doing with Chris Paul just a year ago. Now, how things I think are going to work out in the second half. As you can clearly see, Bulls fan. Right now, the team's not in the playoffs. Currently, is about a game and a half out as of the recording of this video. But right now, as far as how the playoffs go, I think Chicago's probably on the outside looking in. But as far as the teams that are in currently, I think that's more likely how that's going to stay. Same thing in the Western Conference right now. It's really going to come down to who has the better April between Golden State and Dallas as far as who's getting the 8. Personally, I'm still sticking Dallas in there just because they're healthier. I think they're better coached at this moment. And on top of that, the team, I believe, they're going to be a hard out whether they keep KP or not. Now, the way this season has gone for the NBA, it has been a tough watch. Players sitting out, guys are hurt, and when your stars aren't spread, it makes it a hard product to sell. Because I can sell you the Lakers. Now the Knicks are watchable. I can sell you the Knicks. Those teams come with fan bases. I can sell you those teams. I can sell you Charlotte kind of right now because of LaMelo Ball. I can sell you Charlotte. He's very impressive to watch, very fun to watch. But where else, what other teams can I sell you? I can sell you Brooklyn because they have 4 stars. I can sell you the Clippers because they've been watchable, they're good enough. But honestly, if you had these two things going on, which is typically what most families have going on, you have your kids, they're doing homework or got some kind of project for school or something like that, and it's like a Wednesday night. You can help them with that, or you can watch the Lakers and Nuggets, or you can watch Brooklyn and New York or something like that. Between those two, a lot of people are picking to do other things other than consume the NBA. And I think the main reason behind that, and this is going to sound bad, but I really need you all to think about it when I say it though. The league did something that you shouldn't do with your product, and they made their product political. You should never do that. Whatever you can do, don't make your product political. On my channel, I'm not making my channel political whatsoever, but I can acknowledge when something is, and the NBA made themselves political, and that's going to wind up hurting them in the long run. And that's part of the reason why when I touched on the All-Star game, keep in mind, they went from 28 million people watching in 1998 to just a little under 6 million people watching this year. So that's a crazy drop in viewership. And not to mention we have more people. Now, granted, there are more things to do. Now, I'm a gamer. I would much rather play 2K than watch a video. I would much rather play 2K than watch a game. And that includes even playoff games. The only reason I even sat back and watched the playoffs last year because at the time they were airing, there was nothing else on. Other than baseball, there was nothing else on. So yeah, I watched. Now, this is going to be a hard sell for me because my son's going to hit the age soon where he's going to be crawling, trying to walk, and it's going to be warming up. I'm going to want to go outside, take my son in a stroller, walk around the neighborhood, meet our neighbors, stuff like that. If I have my choice between going to spend time with family or watching an NBA game, I'm picking that. But to touch back on the point when I was talking about the NBA being political. Now, I get you want to be more socially aware. Completely get it. But when you realize that when you're defending certain positions that you are, and you have a product that you're trying to sell to not just one side, but to both. When you take a side, you alienate the complete other side. So a lot of people growing up in our community, and I say our community, I mean the black community, grew up thinking Michael Jordan was a Republican for a pretty stupid reason. And it's behind this quote. When he said, when someone in the press asked him a question about, answering a question about, this political thing, he said, look, I'm not getting into that. He said, because Republicans buy shoes too. So he said, I'm not getting into that arena. Gonna definitely have to edit that. But he said, I'm not getting into that arena because I don't want to alienate my chance at making the most money that I can make. So the NBA legitimately say, if you don't like, and when they put the Black Lives Matter on the court and all the social justice and social equity messages and stuff that they were going out there with, when you do stuff like that, and that's not your arena, and I don't mean arena like as in a physical building, but I mean your arena as in politics. Because a lot of people do come to sports for an escape from it because it's in your jobs now. It's in, just basic talking points. And I go and get gas and people are trying to talk politics. So I'm trying to get gas. I don't want to talk politics. I just want to get my 87 fuel into my Nissan and go somewhere. That's all I want to do. And the fact that now when you watch sports, you can't escape it. You just turn it off, especially if it doesn't agree with how you feel. So I'm not taking one side or the other because that's not what I'm here for. But what I will say is when you do take a side, don't be surprised when the side you take has the consequences that come with it. if you want to take a look at, and just to kind of give you some more background on my point, look at the total votes from this past year's election. It was damn near even. So if you take a political side as a business, you are alienating 50% of your profit margin at best because you decided to take a stance. When a stance doesn't need to be taken by your business, you can hold your beliefs. On a personal level, you can hold your beliefs. I encourage you to. But when you influence or try to influence your business or a business to take a side, that's where I take offense to it. Or that's at least where I want to speak up about it. Because what it's done is now effectively affect the product, and it makes it harder to watch, because now I'm sitting there watching CNN with basketball. But guys, let me know what you think about everything that I just touched on down in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. My name is Jay the Reporter, signing out. Peace.